Hey guys, Aaron CybertronVGC here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Regulation J VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be trying out Darkrai for the very first time in my life. Darkrai has never been legal in VGC history until now, and it's obviously a really interesting Pokemon because it gets access to Dark Void, which can of course put both of your opponent's Pokemon to sleep. This team features Sableye with Gravity to help the Darkrai get those more accurate Dark Voids, and it's a really interesting Sableye set because you're also able to Skill Swap Prankster onto Darkrai, giving you access to Prankster Dark Voids. The team also features a Choice Band Groudon, which is one of the strongest partners for a combo like this. The idea is you set up Gravity, you put your opponent's Pokemon to sleep, you get Groudon out, and then you just spam Precious Blades and Dark Void. It's really difficult for your opponents to deal with. The team also has some fun elements like Ice Terra Chien-Pao, as well as Ditto, which you can use to copy opposing restricted Pokemon. As always, I do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like on the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's see how Darkrai can function in VGC. If you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there's also an accompanying Pokepaste down in the description below. This is a Gravity Darkrai team featuring Sableye to help set up the Gravity, while also disrupting your opponents with moves like Disable and Encore, and Skill Swap to give Prankster to Darkrai. The goal, of course, is simple: set up the Gravity, put things to sleep with Dark Void, and then sweep with Precipice Blades from the Choice Band Groudon. Darkrai here has Covert Cloak to, of course, ignore fake outs from Pokemon like Incineroar and Rillaboom, allowing you to basically ignore on turn 1 and just immediately go for Gravity and Dark Void. And Groudon here is going to be speedy and meant to hit as hard as possible. You've got Rillaboom, which gives you terrain control against Miraidon, Chien-Pao, which is just obviously a really powerful attacker, and also activates Sword of Ruin for Groudon to pick up even more knockouts, and Ditto, which can be used, of course, to copy your opponent's restricted Pokemon and non-restricteds, but often I find Ditto is so good because it essentially gives you a third restricted Pokemon to play with. And so there's a lot of interesting components here, but the general idea is simple: set up Gravity and try to sweep from there. Breaking down the team, the first Pokemon I want to highlight, of course, is Darkrai. Question of the day, by the way, I want to know how you would actually buff Darkrai down in the comment section below. I think when this Pokemon was first created, it was quite good, especially thanks to Dark Void being 60% accurate, and back in the day, you didn't have base 130 or base 150 speed Pokemon, for example, but now we play in a VGC format where Koraidon, Miraidon, Fluttermane, Calyrex, Shadow Rider all exist, and they can all outspeed Darkrai, and so I think one of Darkrai's main redeeming factors is its speed, but now there are a lot of common Pokemon that will just outpace it. That being said, it's still a very interesting Pokemon to use. Honestly, I think Darkrai is basically like walking into a casino. You're going to be gambling when you use this Pokemon because there's just so much variance involved. So if you love gambling, Darkrai is the Pokemon for you. Now, part of the reason for this is because, first of all, Dark Void's accuracy is 50%. I will refuse to click this move unless Gravity is set up, basically, or I have no other play to go for, and it's like I need to hit the Dark Void. But 50% is obviously terrible in VGC, right? Like, even using anything under 90% feels already bad. 50 is literally flipping a coin. So you obviously have Sableye's Gravity to increase your accuracy. So for 5 turns, first of all, you get rid of ground immunities, which is nice for Groudon, and then 2, you increase your accuracy by 1.67x. That's great. Unfortunately, that does not turn Dark Void into an 100% accurate attack. It boosts you to just over 80%, and so your odds of hitting Dark Void are decent, but your odds of missing are also non-0%. We can all thank Smeargle for that because Dark Void used to be 60% accuracy, and so with Gravity, you actually would have a fully accurate Dark Void. So like back in the day, I won a regional championship where it was like you had Bronzong to set up Gravity, and then Smeargle could Dark Void, and then there was also Primal Groudon with Precipice Blades. And so this is kind of reminiscent of that, but it's even less consistent now because, of course, Dark Void won't always hit. You can run Wide Lens on Darkrai, of course, to correct for that and give yourself even more accuracy, but that still doesn't turn it into an 100% accurate attack. And so Covert Cloak is the item of choice here. The idea is simple with Covert Cloak. You have Sableye, Darkrai, and so you have 2 immunities to fake out, and specifically fake out flinching. And so if your opponent leads like Incineroar, Rillaboom, they don't expect the Covert Cloak. You can just Gravity into Dark Void immediately, and if they fake out, they don't burn a turn of sleep, which is often part of the problem with Darkrai, in that because it's so fast, you'll put something to sleep, but then it has the chance to wake up immediately afterwards, which is why, like I said, it feels like walking into a casino. But often what you can hope for is, okay, Sableye, Darkrai, you Gravity, your Dark Void, and then you can, for example, Skill Swap onto Darkrai to give yourself Prankster. You can Encore and Disable to lock your opponents in. That's a really strong option often, right? Because like, let's say you put something to sleep and then you also Encore and Disable something. They'll often feel compelled to switch out. But you can just keep spamming Dark Void, basically. What you want to do with this team, though, is you want to get Groudon out as quickly as possible once you've set up Gravity. So I have a lot of games where Sableye sets up Gravity, Darkrai, Dark Void. Turn 2, immediately switch into Groudon and then go for a substitute with Darkrai or another Dark Void if you think switch-ins might come in, or just Dark Pulse, for example. Then the idea is once Groudon hits the field, this is fast Groudon, as you can see. It's Adamant, max attack, max speed. You just Ground Terra and you start clicking Precipice Blades. Because of Gravity, there's nothing that will be able to actually be immune to Precipice Blades because it grounds the flying type Pokemon, it grounds the Levitators, right? And so you'll literally be able to hit everything. This just Ground Terra, Choice Band, Precipice Blades legitimately just one-shots so many non-restricted Pokemon in the format, and it basically two-shots everything, it feels like, right? So it feels similar to something like Water Spout from Kyogre boosted by Choice Specs or Water Terra, for example. And so this is going to be your primary core, like Sableye, Darkrai lead, Groudon on the back, and then one of the remaining Pokemon. This Groudon, by the way, is interesting. You've got Stomping, Tantrum, Thunder Punch, and Fissure. Thunder Punch just gives you water type coverage. Stomping gives you a consistent single target ground type attack. Fissure ideally is a move that you will never click, but it's one of those where it's like if you're up against something that is set up, it has multiple defense boosts, you're just not going to deal damage into it. Fissure gives you that immediate out to potentially get the one-hit KO, which is really nice. Keep in mind, by the way, that your one-hit KO moves are not boosted by Gravity's accuracy, and so Fissure is not going to be affected by that. So this should only be clicked if you feel like you truly have no other option. But the idea is simple, like I said, between Sableye, Darkrai plus Groudon. To round things out, you've got Rillaboom. Rillaboom kind of feels like a necessary Pokemon because, of course, Miraidon exists, and that's going to be one of the best counters to Darkrai, given that it can outspeed Darkrai and also, of course, set up electric terrain so that you can't Dark Void it. With Rillaboom, it means that you can still go Sableye, Darkrai, for example, Gravity Protect turn 1, then turn 2 switch in Rillaboom, and then Dark Void afterwards. Rillaboom, of course, is just also a solid support Pokemon and also helps out and comes out in the Kyogre matchup. You've also got Chien-Pao. This Chien-Pao is really interesting because it's max attack with Ice Terra, right? So you're Jolly, max speed, max attack, Ice Terra, and you've also got Ice Shard. Now, Ice Terra Ice Cold Crash is really nice because it allows you to just threaten Miraidon with a one-hit knockout, right? So what you can do against Miraidon teams is actually lead Chien-Pao, immediately go for Ice Terra Ice Cold Crash, try to knock out Miraidon, then bring out Rillaboom and gain control of the terrain, for example. That being said, if you're going with Rillaboom and Chien-Pao, that means you have to drop one of Sableye, Darkrai, and Groudon, and that can feel a little bit awkward. But Ice Terra Ice Cold Crash is just really, really nice on this. And then you also have Ice Terra Ice Shard. Final Pokemon on this team is Ditto, and I actually think Ditto is a brilliant addition on this one because sometimes it feels like you're lacking damage, right? Sableye, Darkrai, Groudon means that you index almost entirely on Groudon for damage because Sableye literally cannot hit your opponents, and Darkrai, of course, is only really clicking Dark Pulse and getting some chip damage with the Bad Dreams ability, right? So that means when you go with these three, you need one more offensive option. Rillaboom and Chien-Pao obviously offer some solid offense, but Ditto means you can just copy your opponent's Pokemon. This is especially nice if your opponent has something like likes to boost its stats, right? Zamazenta is an example where you can copy Zamazenta and then also get another defense boost on top. Ditto can run a lot of items, right? I've seen people use Safety Goggles. I've seen people use Choice Scarf, Focus Sash. This is Quick Claw Ditto. The idea is with Quick Claw, you always have a chance of just moving first, which is really nice. And Ditto doesn't really need, I think, some of the other items. The team already has Focus Sash committed to the Chien-Pao, right? And so I think Scarf could be the other item you can consider on this Ditto. But honestly, I like Quick Claw because it allows you to at least switch between your moves, which is really nice. So in terms of playing with the team, I think Darkrai often gets led. Like Sableye, Darkrai is a common lead. You could go Sableye, Groudon as well if you're worried about not being able to get Dark Voids off immediately. Against Miraidon-based compositions, you can consider leading Rillaboom if you think they'll lead Miraidon so that you just win the terrain war on turn 1. Generally, you shouldn't lead Ditto, especially in best of 1 play, but even in best of 3. That being said, Ditto sometimes can be a Hail Mary lead option if you feel like you don't really have much other options to go for. And then if you wanted to just go for damage immediately, you could go for like Rilla, Groudon, Rilla, Chien-Pao, for example. But generally, Gravity is set up in almost all the games with this team because otherwise your Groudon and Darkrai are just not reliable Pokemon. So in terms of weaknesses and things to watch out for, the good news for you if you are trying to beat this team is that there's actually a lot of counterplay to Darkrai. So if you're struggling against Darkrai, buckle up. Let me give you some examples. First of all, lots of different ways to mitigate the sleep, right? You can use electric terrain from Miraidon. You can use misty terrain, which can come from Pokemon like Whimsicott or Grimmsnarl naturally, or Galarian Weezing through an ability. You can also use items, and so specifically Lumberry is an item that people have been teching in a little bit more to take the sleep, wake up, and then go for an attack and retaliation. Lumberry Magearna is a great example. I think this team actually does have a slightly negative time into Trick Room. You have tricks around it, whether it be Sableye to Encore the Trick Room user as soon as it sets it up to reverse it, or using Ditto to copy a Trick Room user, but well-played Trick Room can be really annoying. Wide Guard also blocks Dark Void as well as Precipice Blades, and so Wide Guard Zamazenta is a clean example, but you've also got Wide Guard on things like Smeargle, right? And so I think Wide Guard is just really scary because imagine you go Sableye Darkrai and you're like, oh, I'm going to go for Gravity and Dark Void, while Wide Guard can just block it, and then it neutralizes you for a turn while you're threatened by a lot of damage. Darkrai also really does not like going against Pokemon that are faster than it, like can KO it, so Max Speed Koraidon, Max Speed Miraidon, as well as Fluttermane are all great examples. And Darkrai definitely doesn't like getting taunted by Pokemon that are faster than it either, right? And so there's not a ton of those, but it can be really annoying. And then Darkrai also doesn't like just getting KO'd before it gets the chance to move. And so Tailwind plus a powerful attacker can also be really scary. Like I've gone into Tornadus Urshifu where they just go Tailwind and close combat into Darkrai on turn 1, for example, right? And so there's definitely a lot of different counterplay to Darkrai, and it does not do the most amount of damage. Finally, you're also vulnerable to just getting unlucky where, let's say Sableye Darkrai goes Gravity Dark Void turn 1. Well, your opponent often will burn a turn of sleep with both of their Pokemon immediately. So then the next turn, maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to switch Sableye out into Groudon. But then if they just get a 1-turn wake with their Pokemon and you lose Groudon, you often actually will just lose the game. That brings another point here, which is that Groudon is almost the entire offense on this team, often is what it feels like. It's going to be very powerful with Ground Terra, but also means that it's consistently weak to water, ice, and grass. So Kyogre, Rillaboom, as well as Calyrex Ice Red are all some Pokemon that I think this Groudon does not necessarily love going up against. Obviously, opposing Rain like Kyogre, as I mentioned, is annoying, but Rain Dance Tornadus is another example. And then because you don't have Fire-type damage, those Grass-type Pokemon will be extra pesky. Sableye here has no offense whatsoever, and so your opponents can take advantage of that. And Sableye also really does not love going up against Pokemon that can prevent priority attacks, whether that be NDD setting up Psychic Terrain, Farigiraf, or even the random Dark Terra that you might run into every now and then. And so, yeah, those are some of the main points that I wanted to make about this team. And I think, yeah, in terms of restricteds, Miraidon can be annoying. You do have a lot of counterplay to it in terms of damage, which is good, but it means you have to be extra cautious with Darkrai. And then Calyrex Ice Rider and Kyogre both can be kind of scary restricteds because they just do so much damage across the board. And then finally, I think fire type damage is actually really scary for this team because you don't really have resistances. Your best bet is to either go Fire Terra on Rillaboom or Ditto to copy something. But basically, because Groudon comes out in almost all the games, you're going to set up the Sun, and so a powerful fire type attacker like Chi-Yu, for example, can get a lot of mileage against a team like this as well. And so, yeah, those are a couple of things to watch out for. We've got a Magearna team here. This looks pretty familiar because this is actually the team I just featured on the channel. So if you want to see me pilot my opponent's team, check out the video linked down in the description below. It was the very first team I featured in this regulation. And of course, it is quite powerful. So we at least know the tricks here, right? Like, it's going to be no Wide Guard from Smeargle, which is a big deal. They have Fake Out, but that's fine. Annihilate, we obviously have to respect with Scarf Final Gambit, but we can actually go with, I think, Sableye plus Darkrai, because I have the Covert Cloak with Darkrai, so if you go with Smeargle and Fake Out, I avoid it. If you go with Annihilate, I can protect Darkrai turn 1 Gravity, and then disable Annihilate turn 2. So that seems pretty good. Groudon in the third. And then for the fourth one, I think probably Ditto, because I just get to copy one of their restricteds. Could have been Rillaboom maybe, but yeah. Ideally what we want to do is like set up Gravity, Dark Void, and then get Groudon out as quickly as possible. It's going to be NDD plus Ice Rider, which I'm more than okay with here. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very straightforward Gravity plus Dark Void. We'll go for Gravity. And Dark Void. The main thing is where we go after turn 1, because I can obviously switch in Groudon turn 2, but I'm worried that they get a 1-turn Wake Up with Ice Rider. Indeedee switches. Okay. Into Urshifu. And Calyrex just Terras immediately. Well, this is Terra Fairy. Okay. Gravity is up. Let's see if the Dark Void connects. Dark Void hits, but still may have missed one target. Nice. Double connect. Beautiful. Great. And now Urshifu has to take a turn of sleep, which I think puts it in a really tricky spot. So what I want to do right now, I was going to say switch Darkrai out into Groudon, but I do risk an immediate wake up into Glacial Lands. So alternatively, I could go into Ditto. That being said, I think if I get a 2 or 3 turn sleep, I just win the game on the spot. So I think I'm down to go into Groudon here and substitute this turn. And if they stay asleep with Ice Rider, I think that's just GG. Because then the next turn I go Ground Terra, Groudon, Precipice Blades, Dark Pulse. So the odds are in our favor here. We'll set up a sub. Okay, Urshifu stays asleep, meaning Calyrex is trying to Trick Room here. And they stay asleep. Nice. All right. We should be cooking with that. So Gravity is set up now. We have all the field conditions. This is Terra Ground, Precipice Blades now, and Dark Pulse. And I'm going for Dark Pulse here because Ice Rider maybe survives the turn, but or survives the Precipice Blades, but the Dark Pulse gives me a little bit of extra damage. It's not going to do a ton, but it also crucially gives me the chance to flinch, right? So even if you wake up with the Ice Rider and you have a 1 in 3 chance and still staying asleep. So even if you survive the turn and wake up, then you also have to attack through the flinch. I don't know if it survives this. I don't think it does. Honestly, it's Choice Band plus Ground Terra, but Ice Rider is a fairly bulky Pokemon. I don't think it survives though, but we'll see. And here's Precipice Blades. Beautiful. That's a double knockout. This is exactly what the team wants to do. It's set up Gravity, get Dark Void, and then get your Groudon out. I think the main scary thing here is because our opponent's Pokemon were slower, when you click that Dark Void, first of all, it can miss. Second of all, if you connect and you're faster, your opponents burn a turn of sleep immediately. But I was willing to gamble the game a little bit on getting Groudon out. I think I've had a lot of games where I played with this team where I just don't get Groudon out in the first couple of turns, and I spend way too many turns just playing with Sableye Darkrai. And that was one of the key learnings I had while practicing with this team. I actually think this team is not the easiest to use, and it took me a while to get the hang of. But now I can just Precipice Blades and Dark Void again. So the solution into what I did here was actually Indeedee plus Annihilate. The reason for this is because Indeedee blocks Disable. My game plan against Annihilate, if it weren't an Indeedee lead, was to protect Darkrai on turn 1 and then go for Disable. But Indeedee was actually a really great bring for my opponent's end because it does block all of Sableye's shenanigans in the Encore as well as the Disable. And so if you go Indeedee plus Annihilate, you have a guaranteed final Gambit into the Darkrai slot. Although I suppose if I saw Indeedee plus Annihilate, I probably would have just switched my Ditto in to take the final Gambit on turn 1. And play the game from there. Because then their Annihilate is stuck on the field. But then it's interesting because you probably just go for Final Gambit plus like Trick Room. So I think Indeedee Annihilate is almost never a lead you would consider with the opposing team, but it actually works out specifically in this situation. But yeah, I think this is also one of the reasons why some people like running Lumberry in this format. And so like Lumberry Magearna, for example, would completely change the dynamic of this matchup. And so if you're looking for Darkrai counters, Lumberry is one. Wide Guard is another. So having Wide Guard on Smeargle, for example, could have given me some trouble, right? And so if you're like in the team building process, you're like, okay, I want to just like make a quick fix. That's what you could do. And then obviously there are a lot of other counters to Darkrai, like I mentioned in the introduction, but Miraidon with Electric Terrain is obviously one. I've run into, you know, Misty Terrain, Grimmsnarl as well, Taunt from Fluttermane. There's a lot of different ways I can shut down Darkrai, but here I think the best way for them to have approached it was specifically Indeedee plus Annihilate, but that's obviously a really difficult duel to spot, and also when you don't know, like, the details of the team that we're using, it's even harder to find something like that. But this is what this combo can do if everything goes right. Whoa. Okay. We've got Magearna, but it's not a traditional Magearna Trick Room team. It's Magearna, Annihilate, Whimsicott, Torkoal, Ho-Oh, Rillaboom. First impression is that Groudon, Precipice Blades is pretty sweet, but we have to worry about Rillaboom, Ho-Oh burning us. I think I'm still down for Sableye Darkrai here. Groudon +1. I think it's Ditto because if I can copy Ho-Oh, like I think their team actually, hilariously enough, really struggles against Ho-Oh. So let's see. Magearna plus Annihilate, the classic. I think this is going to be Protect Darkrai turn 1 because they want to Final Gambit it, presumably. And just Gravity here. Gravity Protect. Because if you go Trick Room, you know what the right play for them is? It's actually to not Trick Room, and it's to just Dazzling Gleam. Actually, I don't think they're going to Trick Room. Because they're not a Trick Room-oriented team. Oh. Okay, that works. I mean, we'll see what Annihilate goes for. I assume it's Final Gambit. Sweet. Now I can disable Annihilate. And Dark Void. Yeah. And I think the right Terra option in this game is Groudon, because Precipice Blades is so strong. So disable now, covers for Scarf, Final Gambit, which you always should be. Yep. And here's Dark Void. Nice. Let's see if it hits both. Nice. I actually wouldn't have minded missing Magearna if they were clicking Trick Room. But like I said, I'm not really sure they want to even click Trick Room. They're in a really weird spot now, right? Because your Annihilate is just rendered useless. Actually, I can low-key Encore the Magearna as well. This is going to be really mean. So I can Encore you, and then now go for another Dark Void to cover for switches. Honestly, yeah, I don't blame them. Like, that game was kind of over based on how I played the first couple of turns. What's so nasty about Sableye plus Darkrai is a situation like this, right? Where I have put you to sleep, and you're like, okay, like, I think the right situation, what you're supposed to do in that situation is just stay in with Annihilate and let one Pokemon faint so that you get a free switch in. But essentially, the Annihilate was asleep, and it couldn't attack, right? So it's like, okay, I either stay in and just waste some turns, or I pivot out. But if you pivot out and I Dark Void as you pivot out, I just put you to sleep. Also, we had Ditto in that match, and like I said, I think Ditto actually beats their team because it can just copy Ho-Oh, so I was just waiting for Ho-Oh to eventually hit the field. And then Groudon Precipice Blades was also incredible into their entire team other than Rillaboom. So I feel like we had a really favorable matchup, but I think that was a cool way to showcase how we can beat Scar, Final Gambit, and Annihilate. Ooh, Deoxys. Very cool. And there's a Zamazenta, so I'm worried about getting wide guarded. Ditto should be really good here to copy Zom. There's only one Focus Sash on their team, so only one of Urshifu, Deoxys, or Indeedee. Sorry, Chien-Pao can run Focus Sash. Deoxys gets access to a lot of moves, including Superpower, which is not great for Darkrai. And I don't have Crunch on Chien-Pao, so that makes it not very good. It's probably the top 4 Pokemon then, right? No, but I want Ditto. And it's not like expanding Force Spam is actually that scary here. It's tricky. Like, Ditto's nice to copy, but I actually think Rillaboom does play a really pivotal role here in terrain control. It's between Rillaboom and Ditto. I'm opting for Ditto here in the end, but I think, I don't know, I may come to regret it. So basically, part of the argument for Rillaboom is obviously to get rid of Psychic Terrain, but then the other part of the argument is that I can... Let's see what the lead... Oh, it's just Torn Ursh. Interesting. Give me Tailwind close combat. I think we can just go Gravity, Terra, Grass, Dark Void. But the point I wanted to make with Rillaboom was that if you bring Indeedee into the matchup, the Sableye can't do anything other than just Gravity. Like, it gets rid of some of the utility I have with Encore and Disable, right? My main fear now is they Tailwind and their Choice Band close combat into us. If it's anything else, we're in good shape. Okay, they Terra, but they Terra after us, so they're not Scarfed. Terra Water. Terra Stellar would be bad. Oh, that's fine. That's to get around Fake Out from Sableye, but we don't even have Fake Out. Okay, great. This worked out super well for us, I think. Well, actually, if your Choice Band close combat, Darkrai still faints, doesn't it? Wait, it totally might be the case. Uh-oh. Nice, Surging. Okay, that's why you run Terra Grass. That looks like band damage to me, right? Okay, let's see if Dark Void hits. It's going to connect on at least one. Nice. Double connect. They're in a really tricky spot now because they have not taken sleep turns with either Pokemon, which is a big deal. It's going to be Deoxys plus Zamazenta in the back, presumably. I can Dark Pulse you now. Thinking about Encore into Torn. Could also Skill Swap this turn, but I think I maybe want to Skill Swap next turn. So Encore this slot to render you useless. And Dark Pulse into you. It's just that Dark Pulse is kind of obvious. I'm thinking about going for another Dark Void. But then they could wake up immediately after. I don't know if I love that. Okay, I'm going to Encore you. Dark Pulse. You. Nice, and they stay in. Cool, that worked out brilliantly then. And I think the thing is, when you use Darkrai, you do not want to give your opponent chances to wake up at all, right? And so if I didn't go for Dark Pulse this turn, then the Urshifu could wake up next turn, and that's really scary. But with them committing Ghost Terror on turn 1, we get to KO them. And now Darkrai, or Tornadus, is locked into the Tailwind, right? So even if you wake up, you can't go for Bleak Windstorm. And now what I can do this next turn is Skill Swap Prankster onto Darkrai and then Dark Void. What they should do here then is to go for Wide Guard. But then if you Wide Guard, I can just disable you afterwards. So I'm going to Skill Swap Dark Void. Okay, Torn actually stays in here. Interesting. I don't see a Wide Guard though. So this means now I get Prankster Dark Void off, which is so sick. It hits. But do we connect on Zom? Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this combo is just absolutely nasty when it gets rolling like this. But, like, I've basically mitigated any chance of, like, I was saying, like, even if you wake up, it's still fine, right? 2 turns of Gravity left, last turn of Tailwind, you're still Encored, so even if you wake up, it's fine. I now have Bad Dreams on my Sableye. But I think this is the time to just copy Bring in Ditto, copy their Zamazenta, Dark Pulse into Torn. Wait, I could low-key steal their Prankster away. That's kind of funny. Okay, I'm going Skill Swap Dark Pulse. No, they just forfeited. I think it may have been more correct to switch in Zamazenta, honestly. Yeah, I think Sableye into Ditto was actually objectively more correct there. But I thought it would be fun to just take away Tornadus' Prankster, so it wouldn't be able to get another immediate Tailwind up. Because once I steal your Prankster, then I can Dark Void again. But I think it's probably more correct to switch in Zamazenta there, because most Zamazentas carry Wide Guard, so if I switch Ditto in, copy their Zamazenta, then I have Wide Guard to prevent Tornadus from Bleak Wind storming into me. But, yeah. This can be so nasty if you hit those Dark Voids, and we, just had a, big lead, obviously, and I think the Zamazenta not going for Wide Guard allowed me to just put it to sleep. But like I said, I basically locked the Tornadus, and so I was like, even if you Wide Guard with Zamazenta, that's fine, because then I can just disable you immediately after. Ooh. We've got... I don't know the official pronunciation of this. I was going to say Pecharunt. But is it Pecharunt? I'm looking it up right now. Because I've never had to learn the official enunciation of this. This is Pecharunt. Well, that's good to know. This reminds me of early, it's like Sun and Moon. And Naganadel. Barney is what I called it. I don't like Kyogre. It's not a fun matchup. They have Tailwind, which is really spooky as well. I mean, Chi-Yu, I feel like, is a big problem for us, isn't it? How do I beat Chi-Yu? I feel like Chi-Yu low-key wrecks me. It's kind of interesting to see Chi-Yu with Kyogre as well, but... Sableye, Darkrai... Groudon. It probably should be Rillaboom, right? I'm pretty spooked out about this matchup. I think we don't have resistance to fire with anything I'm bringing here. And so, like, Scarf Chi-Yu alone already puts in a lot of work. And they lead it. Nicely done. So I was going to suggest a funky play, which is Skill Swap on a Darkrai immediately to just get Dark Void off. But the problem with that is that Chi-Yu is Dark type, and so even if I do that, first of all, it's only a 50% chance to hit. Second of all, Chi-Yu is immune to Prankster attacks, and so the Prankster Dark Void actually wouldn't work against this, unfortunately. The thing is, I expect to survive a Heat Wave, but they might overheat me. Maybe I still do just go for Gravity Dark Void, though. And maybe they're not Scarf Chi-Yu. But if it's Scarf Overheat, I think you can just lock Scarf Overheat on Darkrai turn 1. So it may have been better to just Protect. No Terra, no Switch, no Protect. Okay, it is just Heat Wave. That's fine. Yeah, I'll take it. And we do connect. Nice. Okay. Chi-Yu has to take a guaranteed turn to sleep this next turn, but I need to get Groudon out on the field. Can't really bother going for any of these. I think we just go into Groudon and then Dark Pulse. But if I Dark Pulse, like, will I KO this? Because then they could switch in Kyogre, which is a problem. So maybe I actually want to go into Rillaboom right now. Yeah, I'm going to Rillaboom and Dark Pulse. Basically, I think if I bring Groudon out and then Kyogre hits the field, Groudon's in a really awkward spot and will want to switch out immediately. Whereas if I let Rillaboom hit the field this next turn, I can go fake out into Chi-Yu. Oh, they just wake up. That's not good. Okay. Chi-Yu's first turn of sleep. Because they got the wake up, switching and Groudon there actually would have been great for me, because then I would have been able to just Precipice Blades both. But I didn't want... I like wanted to cover for them not waking up and me KOing them. They've only taken one turn of sleep, so I could fake out obviously into the slot. Heat Wave is just so strong. That play would have worked out nicely if we got the knockout there. Or if they didn't wake up. Thinking about Fire Terra, actually like Wood Hammer Dark Pulse KO this. Or just take the gamble. I need to knock this Chi-Yu out, so I'm actually just going Wood Hammer Dark Pulse. Okay, they switch. If they stay asleep with Chi-Yu here, this actually works out. Especially with them bringing Chien-Pao. I mean, that activates Sword of Rune now, too. Do they wake up? Nice. Okay, cool. Basically, my logic here is that, like, if I switch, I'm just not going to get any damage this turn, right? And I need to distribute damage onto Chi-Yu to get it low. My expectation was Wood Hammer to Grassy Glide, but because they switched in Chien-Pao, I actually just get the knockout with Sword of Ruin, which is absolutely huge for us. Like, yes, I could go for Fake Out, but then what am I going to do? Fake Out Dark Pulse? Congratulations, that does like 20%, right? But now I'm realizing I also have a Chien-Pao problem. This is still looking really scary. Maybe it's a Terra Fire angle. I think it's probably Terra Fire, Wood Hammer into you, Protect into you. So then I can Grassy Glide next turn. What are my other options? Because the problem here is Chien-Pao's really speedy, right? So it can just Ice Cold Crash into this. And I want to respect it being max speed Pao, which will be faster than Darkrai. I think Terra Fire here covers for what this can do. So yeah, I think we Terra Fire, we Wood Hammer into you, and then we Protect into you. Pao Protect would not be fun to see right now. Okay. A Terra. Okay. What Terra type are you? I genuinely have no idea. Steel? Oh, poison. Then that would make sense. That's okay. Precipice Blades endgame is looking decent. Darkrai Protect, so hopefully that means no Protect from Chien-Pao. Sweet. And it's Ice Spinner, but they target Darkrai. It would have been annoying if they targeted the Rillaboom, because then I can't go for a Grassy Glide priority. But now I bring you down to Sash, so then I can Grassy Glide plus Dark Void next turn. It's Malignant Chain. This shouldn't KO me, right? It's a lot. And badly poisons me. Oh, man. Given that they're Ice Spinner, though, I'm not convinced they knocked out Darkrai. But this is scary, because now I have to attack through Confusion. I'm going to Grassy Glide and Dark Void now. I think the good thing for us is that it's Ice Spinner on Chien-Pao. You're definitely not going to one-shot my Groudon. So I think Sableye Groudon is actually still very powerful in this endgame because I can just go for another Gravity into Precipice Blades. And then even with Kyogre being the last one, I can Skill Swap to set up the Sun again. Chien-Pao protects. I mean, I think that's fine. Just a double Protect. Okay, that makes sense. Stall out my Gravity and get more poison damage. Would have been really nice to have switched in Sableye there, because then I can Encore into Protect, but I think that's not the easiest play to make. I just don't think Darkrai's fainting here. I also survived Poison, I think, as well. Yeah. But the main problem is that Gravity now is no more. Last turn of Grassy Terrain. Do I take the 50% Dark Void? Or I think it might be better to just Dark Pulse here into Champao, because then it's Sableye Groudon endgame. I could also Protect, right? It's probably more correct to just Protect here. Yeah, I'm done. They Sucker Punch. I mean, yeah, that's fine. I think Dark Void there could feel like tempting, but I just don't want to click that outside of Gravity. Malignant Chain. No more Grass Terrain. Yeah, I think we just go out into Groudon now, right? It's just like, do I want to click Precipice Blades? It might be better to just Choice Band Stomping Tantrum instead. I actually think that's the right play. Stomping Tantrum here and Dark Pulse here. Groudon's bulky enough to survive an Ice Spinner for sure. And I think Darkrai survives an attack as well. And Sword of Rune is active, right? So the Pecharunt is just really exposed. You know what my concern is, though? It's Scarf Ogre. If it's Scarf Ogre, you can Protect and switch in Ogre right now. Oh, or they have Sacred Sword. I kind of got baited into thinking they didn't have Sacred Sword because they didn't go for it against Darkrai earlier. I may have just gotten punished for not going for Precipice Blades. Yeah, maybe it was right to Precipice Blades, because if it was Precipice Blades there, we probably end up winning, because then it's Sableye Groudon into Kyogre, but then I skill swap Precipice Blades. Like, I changed the weather. Ah. That's kind of on me. And it made sense for them to ice. It's like, yeah, I just didn't think they needed to Spinner because Sacred Sword would just knocked out Darkrai. So I was thinking they were going to be Ice Spinner, Crunch, Sucker Punch, Protect. But unfortunately, I got baited a little bit. And yeah, like I could have locked Precipice Blades there, but then I risk missing, obviously, and that's what I was primarily worried about. Okay, Stomping Tantrum. And we don't have damage here, which really stings. I'm going to just skill swap into Groudon to set up the Sun. But unfortunately, I just lose to Champao. But if I target Pow, maybe it's correct to actually target Champao. They also don't necessarily know that I can't click Precipice Blades right now. So that might factor into their decision making. But they didn't protect either Pokemon, so. Okay. Is Groudon faster than Kyogre? Choice Band, Sword of Ruin. No! Oh, but they miss! But I still don't know if that's enough. Oh, it has like 1 HP. That was the difference. Are you kidding me? Wow. Yeah, because they did touch, or they Ice Spinnered into the Sableye. Really good game, though, honestly. It's like the question of whether or not I should have clicked Precipice Blades. Yep, now they Spinner. You should just Ice Beam. I was only in this game from an Origin Pulse miss anyway, but I guess also if I just got the better roll on Kyogre, that would have been a KO. I wanted to pull up the damage calc after this and take a look at what it looks like. But they hit Origin Pulse. Oh, the margins were so slim in this one. Really cool to go up against the Pecharunt, though, honestly. It did so much damage. I think the turn that it was... that I got Sucker Punched by the Chien-Pao, I could have, like, switched Rillaboom out there, or I could have Dark Pulsed and just lost Darkrai and played a... like, trade Darkrai for Chien-Pao, and then the endgame is Poison Terra Pecharunt, Kyogre less slower than Groudon, Sableye plus Groudon. So I would see let the Kyogre is slower because of the weather, so rain is up, but then I skill swap into Groudon, and then just click Precipice Blades. So I think I probably would have won this one if I just clicked Precipice Blades, but I thought I didn't need to because they didn't click Sacred Sword, and so I made the assumption Chien-Pao didn't have Sacred Sword, but it ultimately did. But yeah, I think like, because I was like, oh, you can just go for the knockout onto the Darkrai, but I think it makes sense for them to have gone for Spinner because it covers for a Sableye switch in when Darkrai was out on the field, and it also would have been able to remove terrain so I can't Grassy Glide Chien-Pao anymore. But that was a really, really close game and a really cool team for my opponent. Well done. So the damage roll really depends on what kind of Kyogre set it is. You can see here if you're like no bulk Kyogre, it's a very, very favorable roll with Choice Band as well as Sword of Rune. But for example, if you're a max HP on the Kyogre, then it is never a KO. So really depends on what kind of Kyogre set it is. And I honestly have no idea. So yeah, if they were no bulk and we get the, any favorable roll, then we just win the game off then. If we don't, get crit by the Chien-Pao, because then it's Groudon versus Chien-Pao 1v1. I survive Ice Spinner, I Stomping Tantrum, you in return, and we end up winning. So, I mean, I'm willing to take this bet, honestly. And yeah, it's just like Precipice Blades feels really scary because I think a single miss in that endgame would cost me the game. But I don't know. If I had seen that Chien-Pao had Sacred Sword, I should have just locked into Precipice Blades. But like I said, I was making the assumption it didn't because I didn't see it on multiple times when it could have attacked into a Darkrai slot. And so I got kind of lulled into a false sense of security there. But yeah, that was a really fun game. And I'm also just happy to see what Pecharunt can even do. Its damage was quite impressive there, right? And being able to poison and confuse the Rillaboom put it in a much more tricky position. We've got Shadow Rider Koraidon, the World Champion finalist, or Championships finalist, duo with Whimsicott, Wake, Indeedee, and Valiant. It's kind of scary for Koraidon, or just for Darkrai because of Koraidon. Because if you're max speed Koraidon, you just outspeed me, right? This doesn't feel like a great matchup. They're just so fast. And Koraidon is probably one of the harder restricteds to fight against, too. Thinking of a Groudon lead, honestly. Groudon, Sableye, Darkrai +1. We don't have a dark type attack on this, so I think Ditto maybe to copy their Calyrex. Basically, I think if I go Sableye, Darkrai, they can just go Fire Terra, Flare Blitz me, right? And I can't Terra my way out of that. Valiant Koraidon. I mean, if they have Wide Guard on Valiant, that's really bad. It's booster energy, so at least it's not Focus Sash. But that makes sense. Like, you wouldn't run Sash given that you don't have Miraidon on this team. Don't think we're Terra Grassing this in this matchup. Don't need to Terra Fire this. I'm thinking just Ground Terra, Precipice Blades, and Gravity. It could also be switch Groudon out into Ditto immediately. Will they wide guard is the question. I feel like they should. So I'm going to go switch in Ditto and Gravity turn 1. I just think if I Ground Terra, Precipice Blades, and they wide guard and attack Groudon, it's so bad. And I don't know if Ground Terra Stomping Tantrum is worth it there. There was no wide guard coming out here. Coaching? Oh, wow. I was coaching Flame Charge. If I just went Gravity, Precipice Blades, then I could have switched in. Like, the thing is, now I want to switch Ditto out so I can copy this boost. Whoa! Okay, we got a lot of valuable information here, actually. Wait, I can also Encore you into Flame Charge, so you're not actually that scary. I mean, I guess you're still somewhat scary. I shouldn't say you're not scary. I'm actually going to switch back out into Groudon. And then Encore. It may have been even stronger to go Darkrai Skill Swap and then Dark Void. Koraidon just protects. I'm assuming they're Spirit Breaking my Sableye then. Wow, if I Encored Valiant into Coaching, then I would have been to Encore Koraidon. Oh! They went for Thunder. Wait, this is huge. Okay. Well, now I can Encore you for sure. So Koraidon's forced to switch out. Thunder Wave, Coaching, Spirit Break +1. The thing is, they could have Indeedee as a back one, so if you had Indeedee, you could switch it in right now. I'm actually intrigued in bringing Ditto back in right now to copy them. Because then I get a boosted Koraidon, which is kind of nice. But I don't know if it actually is that good anyway because of its moveset, quite frankly. So I think I'm down to just Precipice Blades here. Encore. And they stay in with Koraidon. Okay, nice. This is definitely a super interesting early game. They might just go for another Coaching. Now you're locked into Protect. Okay, and it fails. Nice. It is another Coaching, but I think now, I mean, like, my Ditto is ready to come out and just copy the Koraidon. Wait, it still does so much damage. What? That was +2 defense, right? Means we would have one-shot them without the boosts. That's kind of nuts to think about. Walking Weight comes out, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is going to get the Protect off this turn. I'm actually thinking about... Should just switch in Ditto and get the boosts now, right? Well, I can. I'm just thinking about bringing out Darkrai and then Skill Swap. Yeah, I'm down for that. Koraidon goes for the Protect that it has to. We've we've gotten Dark Void onto Darkrai. Hydro Steam into us, that's fine. Does a lot, but it's not a KO. So now I have Prankster, Dark Void, so I think I can go for Dark Void here. And then pivoting Groudon. It mainly stings. Like, I wish I could switch in Koraidon and copy the boosts. I think this is fine. Koraidon fails the double once again. Dark Void comes out. Hits at least one. Nice. Okay, huge. That should put me in a really commanding spot then. Wake does have to take its first turn of sleep, but that's okay. Sunlight now fades. Koraidon's Encore has ended. Gravity has now returned to normal. This has to take a turn of sleep right now. Wake can wake up right now, which is the main scary thing. There's Shadow Rider presumably in the back. So I think I don't mind going for Substitute plus Precipice Blades here. Three HP in a Dream. Koraidon stays asleep, takes turn 1 of sleep. Wake does manage to wake up. Does this one-shot me? Okay, nice. And we don't miss. Huge. I figured I'd be okay and that we'd survive there, but that was obviously dangerous and close. And that one-shot's Walking Wake. Choice Band Ground Terra is insane. It was just a little bit scary here because I was vulnerable to missing. But now we're up 4-1. And I've got a Ditto in the back as well. It's not over, though. Like, we never saw a Focus Sash on their team, right? I could legit still lose this. If there's Sash Calyrex. Wait, they also have Enterra'd, right? Then Terra Calyrex also is scary. I think, let's see, what do I do here? I have Prankster on this, so even if I got Sableye in, I think we just go Dark Pulse this turn. And Precipice Blades. Sacrifice Groudon, bring out Sableye, and then with Sableye I can disable them. Okay, they're going to Terra. Basically, I want them to click Astral Barrage. Oh, but you could be Dark Terra. Okay, it's normal Terra. That's fine. Wait, is that fine? Now when my Calyrex copies them, I can't Astral Barrage them. I wonder if it was right to honestly just go for Dark Void there and take the 50% chance. Because if it hits, it's probably just game over. Oh, but this is fine, right? Because now I go Sableye, I protect Darkrai, I Gravity. Dark Pulse here. Yeah, bring out Sableye. I could also Encore / Disable. Basically, my fear, like, one approach I have is to bring out the Sableye, and then I go Protect, Gravity, then bring out Calyrex, And then I Dark Void plus attack. I'm worried that I mean, what other attacks would normal Terapagos be running is the thing. I don't know the item on it. I'm just so worried about I go for Gravity and then I miss Dark Void and they win a speed tie. But I guess if that happens, it happens. I'm just thinking I can win the game with Disable. Because, like, surely they click Astro Barrage, you would think, right? Okay, I'm going to go for it. And just Dark Void. Okay, Dark Void just hits. Cool. That's great. But like, the Disable was the hedge here. So even if Dark Void misses, you can't Astro Barrage. Cool. Now I will Dark Pulse into you and Encore into you. And they were going for an attack before my priority Encore, so they were probably trying to protect there. Great. Now one more Dark Pulse. Is there anything else to go for? Yeah, I mean, this is just trapped, right? I mean, Dark Pulse should just KO here. Like, Calyrex can't do anything even if it wakes up, right? Does manage to wake up. Well, I guess it can struggle into Darkrai? I mean, I think that's fine. Yeah, because you're just locked. But this is awkward because Ditto doesn't actually copy you, but it's fine. It's probably technically more correct to switch the Ditto out there. But you're still disabled and Encore for one more turn. So I can transform. And then I don't want to skill swap this away. I'm also running out of your time. I gotta be careful. Transform into you, and we just click anything here. Yeah. I feel like those last couple of turns, the game was just won, but I just wanted to be sure. But yeah, that was a really close game, honestly. Super back and forth. I think the Koraidon set was fascinating, but Sableye was huge in how it trapped in this game. And I actually wish I could have seen the Calyrex moveset, but I should have switched Sableye out into Calyrex. I guess it doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day, though, right? So, yeah. It just would have, like, allowed to close up the game potentially one turn sooner. Okay. We've got Miraidon, Groudon, Whimsicott, Sinistcha, Incineroar, Terapagos. Miraidon is obviously a pretty huge problem for Darkrai. Probably want Rillaboom. I'm like contemplating Sableye Groudon, but the problem is Groudon's not Assault Vest and I have no bulk, so you can just Draco Meteor me immediately, which is not good. I might still go Sableye Darkrai, honestly. Groudon Rillaboom. It's just, if I'm not bringing Chien-Pao in this matchup, when am I ever bringing it? But, like, I don't know who to drop. Is it crazy to drop Darkrai here, honestly? I actually think we could. Because it takes so much to get Dark Void off in the first place, and I think Chien-Pao's damage is kind of insane here. I'm gonna do it. Like, I have Sacred Sword on Chien-Pao and Terra Ice Ice Skull Crush, and like, that's just so good into my opponent's entire team, right? The only thing that gives that problem is Incineroar, to which I have Groudon. Instant Miraidon. Okay, this works for me. So you would think they Volt Switch here on turn 1, right? I would like to go for Gravity, switching Groudon. The lead I was thinking about was Sableye Darkrai. To which then, like, I just kind of get popped by max speed Miraidon. It depends on how fast the Miraidon is. Okay, they didn't go for Fake Out. We get Gravity up. Volt Switch. Looks like Specs to me. I'm worried it's Flare Blitz just in a Groudon. That would hurt. It's the Teacup. Nice play. Volt Switch and U-turn for double pivot. Go back out into Miraidon now. I'm just worried they go Specs Draco Meteor into Groudon now. But they could just Volt Switch again. I think I just go Rilla here. Precipice Blades. This is a really nice U-turn. I think if Incin stayed on the field, I would have been in actually pretty good shape. But the fact that they managed to like pivot terrain immediately was quite strong. Yeah, let's just Volt Switch again. I mean, that's fine. I'm guessing you bring out Incineroar now. If I can get rid of Incineroar, it opens the door for Chien-Pao to just Ice Skull Crash everything. So that's the setup I'm trying to look for. And it is instant coming out. Don't know if Ban Precipice Blades KOs, though. Maybe should have Terra'd there. Strength Sap. That's actually fine. I'd rather see Strength Sap than something like Magearna. Fake Out is online now. For both of us. But I also want to pivot out for terrain control. Fake Out in a Groudon plus attack it makes sense. I want to switch Groudon out into Sableye. I actually think switch Groudon on a Sableye Fake Out here maybe was okay into Incin, because then I can Encore the Sinistcha. They didn't Fake Out. Ugh. That's scary. Nice decision. Shadow Ball Sinistra. Oh, and actually KO Sableye. Flare Blitz, maybe a U-turn again. It's just been rotation after rotation after rotation. Do they bring Miraidon in? Yep. I wish we had a fire type attack. It would allow me to hit the Sinistra. I might just go Chien-Pao right now. If I bring in Rillaboom, what happens? I go Rilla. They're going to just switch Miraidon back out into... Incineroar. If I go out Chien-Pao, they can just Draco Meteor Groudon or Volt Switch Chien-Pao. I should have Terra Grounded Groudon earlier to get the knockout onto Incin on the switch in. That was my mistake. Okay, I'll bring in Rilla. So I think now Miraidon pivots back out into Incineroar. So I'll go for Precipice Blades here. And U-turn into Sinistra. Yep. At least we should finally knock out Incineroar now. Maybe Darkrai was the right pick. I don't know. Just with how much pivoting they have here, I feel like it's so hard to get a Dark Void off. It also could just be Matcha Gotcha this turn in grassy terrain against Groudon plus Chien-Pao, which would not be great for us. But yeah, I think the lack of a fire type attack has definitely cost me a little bit in this game. Because if I had a fire type attack, I could just pop Sinistra and then get to a Groudon endgame. Let's see. Okay, it's another Strength Sap. I will take that. Well, this was the entire position I was playing for this game, which was Chien-Pao after Incineroar has fainted. And I'm Terra Ice Pow as well. I also have one more turn of Gravity, right? It's Terapagos. Terapagos is coming in. Maybe I actually don't switch out this turn despite being at -2. Like, I'm thinking about going for Precipice Blades, Terra Ice, Icicle Crash. Precipice Blades, Terra Ice Crash. And the reason I'm doing this is because I think Sinistra hopefully feigns to Icicle Crash plus Precipice Blades. Like, if you don't Terra, Icicle Crash should KO you. And if you Terra, then you're not resistant to Precipice Blades anymore. And I have Sword of Rune active now. Okay, they Terra, but is it Sinistra or is it Terapagos? It is Terapagos into what? Terra Fairy. I mean, I think that's okay. Okay, here's Icicle Crash. Do I KO? Okay, nice. That's huge. I think it's Specs Miraidon based on how much Volt Switch did on turn 1, right? Flamethrower. Okay. Please no burn. Sunlight fades. And Groudon's faster than Terapagos, which is huge. Gravity returned to normal. I mean, what I'm thinking is I can just Ice Skull Crash Miraidon right now. I'm just worried they're max speed. It's Electric Sea Terapagos with Flamethrower, okay. The thing is I have Sacred Sword. Like, I can get the knockout here. Like, I could switch in Rilla and just crash Miraidon. The other play I'm contemplating is Protect, Precipice Blades. But they're probably going to Draco into this slot is my guess. Okay. The thing is, like, I don't think Terapagos can, even with the defense boost, like, I still do so much damage with Ban Groudon, right? And it worst comes to worst, I could actually commit to Fissure in the end game. Nice. Okay, we don't miss. Terra Ice was actually huge for us in this game. Miraidon gets popped. Sweet. This is how you deal with Miraidon sometimes with Darkrai, by the way. I had a lot of games where I kept forcing Darkrai into the Miraidon matchup, but I think it's just so difficult. And by the way, I think it's bringable here, but Chien-Pao was the MVP, right? And I was contemplating Darkrai over Chien-Pao. But I think I absolutely needed Pao because it gave me the damage that I needed. And I don't know. I was just like, if I'm not bringing Chien-Pao in this matchup, then literally what game do I ever bring it out in? Because, like, if you look at my opponent's team, like, everything was weak to Chien-Pao outside of Incineroar. Okay, fake out. You can make an argument for committing to any of these moves, honestly. Wait, you know what I can do? I can fake out Terapagos and then Stomping Tantrum this slot for a stronger Stomping Tantrum. So they protect. Like, Terapagos Flamethrower shouldn't KO Rillaboom either, right? Oh, that doesn't work. I thought I was so clever. That works if you self-target yourself, not on the opposing slot. Wow, I still like locking into the Stomping Tantrum here. Okay, and we're faster, we get Wood Hammer. Nice, one more Stomping should just KO, so. I forgot that the attack gets redirected if you target the partner slot there. But I think if my Rillaboom were fainted, I could self-target it, and then the Precipice, or the Stomping would be increased in damage. Fortunately, it didn't really matter here in this end game, but yeah. Oh, you know what I could have done? I could have self-faked out on the Stomping Tantrum. That would have worked. But I think that is a little bit too flashy, honestly. It didn't really end up mattering because, yeah, like, I wasn't worried about Terapagos because I was like, if you don't have a Calm Mind boost, you're not one-shotting either Pokemon. You probably need, like, 3 Terra Starstorms to knock out Groudon, whereas Stomping will just do more damage. So, yeah. But that was a really, like, long, drawn-out game, and we had to be very patient. Kyogre, Ice Rider, Rillaboom, Murkrow, Mienshao, Iron Hands. Kyogre is probably my least favorite restricted to play against with this team because it just does so much damage. It's Tailwind Kyogre. It's just like the... Yeah, it's just so scary. Like, Sableye Darkrai, I think I could just Gravity Dark Void. Groudon Rillaboom. Pow Ditto. I don't really like either. I think Ditto could work. Copying Kyogre is the thing. But that's the extent of it. Mienshao, Calyrex. Okay. Well, Mienshao gets Wide Guard, so that is actually pretty problematic. The question is whether or not it just Wide Guards turn 1, because you could just Wide Guard Glacial Lance, right? So I could go for Gravity here. Gravity Protect is what I'm leaning towards to cover, like, scout out for Wide Guard. The main thing here is I have Covert Cloak and the surprise of it, so I'm like, maybe I should just be Dark Voiding, honestly. If they fake out, though, I can just Encore them. Oh, it's the Terra. Okay. Terra, I would expect normally on Ice Rider. Yeah. Terra Dark. Okay, so with Terra Dark, I really have to be careful about skill swapping onto my own Darkrai, because if I do, then I can't actually Dark Void into Ice Rider. They didn't go for Taunt into Darkrai. Interesting. Okay. And then Trick Room. Oh, that's a bad Trick Room for me. Oh, the Taunt is frustrating because Darkrai's faster than Mienshao, so I totally could have just Dark Voided there. I'm surprised they didn't just maybe respected Wide Guard too much. It's okay, though. I think I will just go for Encore here. Wait, no, that's not good. I think I get wrecked by Ice Rider now. Terra Dark specifically saves them here, because if they were any other Terra, I could just Encore you and then the Trick Room gets reversed immediately, but it gives them the immunity. I went for a Skill Swap Sub, but I don't think that even really works. It maybe needs to be Skill Swap Dark Void, because I'm probably just going to get close combated, right? Or Glacial Lance Taunt. Man, Dark Terra Ice Rider, not common, but completely stops me here. Because it stops the Prankster shenanigans from Sableye. Oh, they went for knockoff, though. Okay. Hold on. I think that gives me a slight opportunity where now I can Encore you into... Oh, I don't have Prankster anymore, though. Yeah. I just feel so bad. I could have just Dark Voided on turn 1. I was just so worried about Wide Guard plus Glacial Lance. Because I was like, okay, even if you Trick Room, it's fine, but they ended up being Dark Terra, which ends up not being fine. I mean, I can't switch what I have in the back there, so I think I just sacrifice and protect here. And then I can go bring out Rillaboom, fake out Dark Void. Just like I'm doing no damage, and then they still have a Kyogre waiting in the back, so this feels like a lost cause. It feels bad, like how different the swing would have been on turn 1 if I just clicked Gravity Dark Void, but... Yeah, especially, like, Taunt is cool and would normally work if you're faster than Darkrai, but they were slower. Right, like, Mienshao's base speed is only 105, so Darkrai, max speed Darkrai is just faster. Do they not have close combat? Like, maybe they just keep expecting a Terra? Basically, like, I have to play really defensive right now, right? But I have Fire Terra on Rillaboom, and I have the Prankster sub. The problem is I can't Dark Void you. But I had it to go for the skill swap just to keep Darkrai around. So I'll fake out into you, and then now Dark Void. But yeah, Dark Terra is actually one of the worst Terras for us to run into because of the Sableye immunity. They switch Mienshao out, which honestly I don't mind. Hands? Okay. Does Dark Void connect? One of the other things to think about is I can swap Darkrai out to actually get rid of Prankster, so then I can just have regular Dark Void back online. Which, obviously, I can use into the Calyrex. Okay, I actually think this is salvageable. Now that we're in this game state. What I'm going to do this subsequent turn is... What's the restricted going to be? Kyogre. I think I have to Terra Fire here to survive the turn. U-turn into Calyrex and then protect with Darkrai. And then I get Choice Band Groudon out. But the thing is, I don't think Band Groudon even does enough damage to Calyrex Ice Rider, which is the scary part. But yeah, Mienshao was a huge problem for me in this one, mainly because of the threat of Wide Guard. I think like Wide Guard is just going to be one of your best answers into us. So I showed it too much respect, and I don't even know if they have it, honestly. We've only seen Knockoff and Taunt, basically. And if you're running Knockoff and Taunt, I would think you have Fake Out Close Combat, but I feel like Mienshao is so good with Wide Guard that it's surprising to me when one of them doesn't have it. But, like, I think my position is scary right now because I've, like, wasted so many Gravity turns, and so I'm going to have to rely on inaccurate moves in this endgame, which never feels good. But we've at least stalled out Trick Room. Is it over Woodhammer? I don't think Woodhammer Dark Pulse KOs. Oh my goodness, that still does infinite damage. That's because I got crit. Okay. I think Dark Pulse Blades knocks out Ice Rider here. I really needed to. But the thing is, yeah, Precipice Blade just does so much damage against their entire team that this is still doable. But no gravity anymore. Precipice Blades. I'm a Dark Pulse here because it gives me damage into Ice Rider. It's not going to be much, but it's still damage. And even if Ice Rider survives, it gives me the chance to flinch them. And I'm playing from behind right now, so I'm going to make a play like this. But I think this game showcases how the unique Terra and Dark can be really difficult to deal with. Because I think blocking Prankster is such a big deal. Just protect. That's a good protect. Okay, I actually want to miss hands here. Miss hands and they don't wake up would be the dream right now. But we hit. And one shot, that's not good. Because the problem is that gives you the free switch into Mienshao. To which you can fake out Glacial Lance now. Wait, what? I just brought up Kyogre. I mean, Kyogre also makes sense. Because you can just Origin Pulse and Glacial Lance right now. I think my best bet is hope for an Origin Pulse miss, maybe. Oh, they're just Scarf Ogre. Okay. Then the only way I could have gotten out of that was... Well, there were two... No, there was only one way. It was just go for Dark Void there. But yeah, this was a really hard matchup. I think Kyogre is already difficult. Like, Kyogre Ice Rider is a tricky duo. Nice Trick Room as well. And then the Dark Terra completely changes things. But yeah, this would have been a completely different game if I just Dark Voided on turn 1, but I don't know. I think, like, the Gravity, Dark Void into Wide Guard, Glacial Lands is so bad for us. Like, so bad. But yeah, part of the problem here is, like, both of them, like, Ice Rider and Ogre both do so much damage to us, right? Like, if I don't Terra, everything I bring is weak to, or it takes neutral damage from Glacial Lands, right? Rillaboom and Groudon take so much. Darkrai, like, everything gets two-shot by it. And then Kyogre, like, Rillaboom can stand up against it, but then Rillaboom has to face, like, a faster Fake-Out user in Mienshao, also has to face the Ice Rider, so that doesn't feel like the best or easiest Pokemon to bring either. So, yeah. I think ultimately, it also would have been fine if it weren't Dark Terra, because if they weren't Dark Terra on the Calyrex, I would have been able to just, like, Encore, Grass Terra, Darkrai, and then Dark Void. And the reason you Grass Terra there is because it would cover for Ice Rider protecting and then Mienshao close combating into us. But yeah, I think turn 1, I just respected the Wide Guard. Unfortunately, it didn't come out, and it ends up punishing me a lot. And I think mainly what felt frustrating was that, like, Taunt wasn't an option that, like, actually really would cover for Dark Void on turn 1 because we're max speed Darkrai. So that felt a little bit bad. But yeah, I think my opponent executed really well setting up Trick Room and then making sure that they didn't let me just get, like, a free knockout. And yeah, I was kind of hedging off it not being Scarf Kyogre. I think with it being Scarf Kyogre, I don't know. Even if I hit the Dark, like, I go for Dark Void and I hit, Precipice Blades isn't knocking out the Ice Rider. Like, I probably need a Terra Ground on the Ice Rider, or Groudon. So what may have actually been better was just sacrifice Rillaboom in the turn I went Terra Fire. So then I get Terra Ground Groudon out, and then at least can Terra Ground Precipice Blaze everything. But I think it's still probably a lost cause because you still have Mienshao and Kyogre in the back, and then you can always just fake out Water Spout Groudon. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Darkrai, I think, is not an easy Pokemon to use, but I have tried a lot of different Darkrai comps already out just in the first couple of days of this format, and I think this one has impressed me the most, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I think the Sableye in particular just enables for a lot of great strategies with Darkrai, and you're less reliant on a non-prankster Pokemon setting up Gravity, which is awesome as well. So yeah, thanks so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.